Hello Internet, around here I go by Cat of Diamonds, and welcome to my Fannish Reviews. I'm wearing what I like to call my Frenchy wig because I haven't washed my hair in a few days and it's got roots. Also, I'm filming in probably one of the best times of day to film in my room, and I can't get the lighting right, so I'm using an extra light, and as soon as I pick up a book it throws off the white balance, so it's just a hot mess. This is my hot mess of a February wrap-up video. I read 4 books over the course of February, so I'd like to share them with you. The first one being First and Then by Emma Mills. First and Then is a contemporary about a girl named Devon who has just regular life in high school, but at the beginning of this school year, the universe sends her cousin Foster to live with them, who has had a very difficult home life with his own family, as well as a complication of Ezra, who is the new football hotshot, which is kind of competing for football hotshotness of her best friend Cass. I learned about this book because Emma Mills is also known as Elma Fly on YouTube, and I've been subscribed to her for years, probably 6 to 8 of them. Additionally, when I talked about hauling the book itself, it is very, very pretty under the jacket as well as over it, and I knew that I would want to purchase it for that reason, to support my YouTube subscription-y. As well as I know she's really clever, so I'd probably really enjoy her book. While there is a romance, First and Then follows Devon's life through this year of school, which is, while banal or boring, it is also from a place of severe privilege, and so it kind of just follows her understanding what it's like to not be as privileged or have everything under your control in your life, and how she copes with coming to that realization and how her relationships change because of that. I believe that I rated it about a 4 or a 5 on Goodreads. It will probably stay on my shelf for my shelf vanity's sake. The second book I finished in February was The Legacy of Kings by Eleanor Herman, and I totally enjoyed this book. Legacy of Kings is the first in a series that retells the life of Alexander the Great as a teenager, and I loved it so much. It takes something that actually happened in our history and then pumps some magic and fantasy and high fantasy into it, which is a perfect setting because they still believed in the gods, or the gods were kind of a fading religious system. It is a little bit crazy to get into because it's told in third person present tense, so the point of view alternates a lot. You have so many characters to get used to. It definitely has that Game of Thrones vibe of there's so many important storylines that you know are going to mesh together later on. You're jumping into different lands and regions that the kings and queens are different, but who's, and it's just very intense. There's a lot there, and that's why I can understand people have compared it as like a YA Game of Thrones. I might be slightly biased because Katarina is the leading female character, and most of the time she goes by Kat, which is my name, so it was very nice to hear my name a lot in a heroic capacity. Like I said, it's the first book of a series. I rated it probably 5 out of 5 on Goodreads, so I'm super excited to pick up the second one, and finishing this book made me want to go to the library immediately and read all I could about Alexander the Great and his actual historical context so that I could maybe spoil myself and prepare myself for the next adventures, but alas, I'm not probably gonna do that, but it made me want to. My third read of the month was Soundless by Richelle Mead, who is the author of the Vampire Academy and Bloodline series. This is a standalone book about a girl named Faye who is a deaf girl in a deaf community high up in the Asian mountains of somewhere in Asia that is not actually specified. The timeline is not very specified. You don't know if it's a historical fiction or if it's a parallel to the universe as we know it, but the technology is more rudimentary. Because Faye lives amongst her deaf community at the top of the mountain and this mining community, all of their food is delivered to the top via a food chain from the bottom of the mountain in exchange for the precious metals inside the mountain. However, the food supply has become threatened, and also the community is becoming blind and they don't know why, so it's pretty much up to a teenager to save the day. I I enjoyed this storyline. I enjoyed reading it. I don't think very many people enjoyed reading it as much as I did. Kind of just accepted it for the adventure that it was. Faye and her childhood crush, Leeway, I believe, have to adventure down the mountain and try to find a solution. I grew up in a town where one of the top deaf and blind schools is. I took 3 semesters of sign language after 3 years of Spanish in high school, and I still can communicate better in sign language than I can in Spanish. So I have placed myself on the fringe of deaf culture. I was curious to see how a gesticulated and body language heavy language that has complexities both within American Sign Language versus other sign languages, regional dialects, would be translated into a novel, which is probably why I enjoyed it so much. It is pretty light on Asian heritage. I'm rambling, but I enjoyed it, and my bookshelves are getting big, and I think this one might be making the cut, as in, you're out of here. And the book that I finished yesterday was The Night We Said Yes by Lauren Gibaldi. It is told in 2 time streams. By Ella, the night she meets Matt again for the first time, and then the night a year prior that she met him for the first time. And the reason those are both first times is he disappears 6 months in between these 2 timelines. It's a little bit convoluted to try to talk about. I didn't read much into it or do any reviews. I got this in one of my all crates and I just jumped into it. It was an enjoyable read. It was somewhat tedious to jump between the 2 time streams because you have to remember which time you are looking at, but it is a very interesting way to tell a story. I really liked most of the friendships that were present because it wasn't just about Matt's relationship with Ella, it was about his relationship with all of her friends and how quickly they became friends. The love story is insta-lovey absolutely in the first time stream, and then it's explained a little bit better in the second time stream. I enjoyed it. I don't want to say it was a waste of my time, but I don't feel like this book really made me grow personally. With that, I'm going to let it go find another home where someone else hopefully will enjoy reading it too. So there we go. There are the 4 books I read in February. They were alright. It started off on a high and ended on a kind of mediocre, but that happens sometimes. Though I hope you've enjoyed this weird Frenchy hot mess of a monthly wrap-up video, and until my next video, happy reading.